I want to really compliment Ernest and the people at the CIP unit in St. Lucia. I think they've done a wonderful job. We want people to come to our country who can share, like that there can be a transfer of knowledge, a transfer of technology between these countries and our countries.
I think the reality is this is about migration. In very much the same way you have skills-based migration, you have investment migration.
This is a region not defined by its size, but definitely defined by its courage, its capacity, its capability, and its firm position that it will contribute significantly to global advancement and development.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press. We thank you once more for your presence here at the Office of the Prime Minister pre-cabinet press briefing today, Monday. Our first presenter is Honorable Moses Jean-Baptiste with a few updates in the health sector. Honorable.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press. I'm happy to be here. I'm hoping that you are well, feeling well. I'm hoping that every single one of you took your blood pressure this morning, and that you drank water and fresh fruits, and you did some exercises and so on. Just a few updates. One on the Ebola virus. Two, just an update on World Hypertension Day. And just one general comment. The World Health Organization has declared the Ebola outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. This is very important, and this should get our attention, because this most recent Ebola virus outbreak, which is mainly in the northeastern Democratic Republic of Congo and Uganda, while at this time poses no threat to us in our region of the Eastern Caribbean, is very important for us to be aware of it, and it's very important for us to prepare as a country and as a region and to strengthen our protocols. The most recent Ebola virus outbreak is caused by the Bundibugyo strain of the Ebola virus, Bundibugyo Ebola virus it is called, and this is a different strain of Ebola when compared to the other strains of years past. The World Health Organization has not declared an epidemic or pandemic, sorry. The World Health Organization has not declared a pandemic, and therefore this is a very critical event that the world cannot treat simply as a local event that is happening in Congo or Uganda. Although it is not a pandemic, under the international health regulations, it indicates that this extraordinary event may spread internationally, and it may require a coordinated international response. There is no evidence that this outbreak of Ebola is spreading internationally. There is no evidence of this now, but it may require international collaboration. The history, as I'm sure most of you would know, of Ebola, also known as the Zaire Ebola virus, says or indicates, the research indicates, and the World Health Organization indicates that there have been several outbreaks of Ebola. The Zaire Ebola virus, which has a fatality of up to 90%. The Sudan virus, often the fatality is about 50%. And this one, the Bundibugyo virus, has a lower fatality, according to the World Health Organization, of about 30%. This, however, does not mean that we should not be vigilant. We also know, based on information from the World Health Organization, that licensed Ebola vaccines and approved therapeutics are available for the disease caused by the Ebola virus. However, for the most recent one, the Bundibugyo virus disease, there is currently no approved vaccine or therapeutic specific to this particular strain. Therefore, all countries, including countries in our region, in the Caribbean and St. Lucia, all countries are now upgrading their protocols and are ensuring that we are doing what is necessary just in case. For St. Lucia, we have the following in place. Strengthen protocols for Port Health Service. We will begin to put out regular updates for public education, and this will be done by the Office of the Chief Medical Officer. We will strengthen training for healthcare workers. We will improve infection prevention control measures. And at present, testing for any possible suspected case is arranged through the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA. At this time, we have a fair quantity of PPE in stock, protective gear, protective equipment. And while there's no vaccine, we will upgrade our surveillance and ensure that our protocols are in place. So I wish to indicate to St. Lucians that our ministry will be working with the Caribbean Public Health Agency, with the Pan American Health Organization, and of course with the World Health Organization. As we speak, our Chief Medical Officer, along with one of our lead nurses in administration, are attending the World Health Organization World Health Assembly, and this Ebola virus outbreak is a major topic for discussion, and on her return, she will update the country on the latest developments in relation to this Ebola outbreak out in Uganda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. I wish to speak very briefly on World Hypertension Day. World Hypertension Day was observed on Sunday, May 17th, and it is always a time for health officials, health workers, and community leaders to raise public awareness about hypertension or high blood pressure, which is a condition which affects 2 out of 5 St. Lucians. Between the ages of 18 to 69, we know that St. Lucia has a very high prevalence of what we commonly refer to as high blood pressure or hypertension. It is a leading preventable cause of premature death in the world and in St. Lucia. Many of our experts say all the time that people do not have to die, or they should not die from the complications of hypertension if the protocols are followed and if we continue to monitor our blood pressure. It is very important for St. Lucians to understand that many St. Lucians, every single year, many St. Lucians die as a result of the complications of high blood pressure and hypertension. It is called a silent killer, as we know already. Many people, most people who have high blood pressure may not know, because many people do not test regularly for high blood pressure. If high blood pressure is uncontrolled, over time it can cause serious damage to vital organs like the heart, the kidney. It's more likely for individuals who are affected to have heart attacks, strokes, and kidney disease. Therefore, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Nutrition wishes once again to raise the awareness, and at every opportunity we raise the awareness among the population about the importance of checking and managing your blood pressure. In St. Lucia, we note our most recent figures indicate that only 14% of our people who go to the wellness centers are able to control their high blood pressure effectively. This is indeed concerning, and we are working with our partners, both private sector and other public sector agencies, to ensure that that awareness is widespread and that our people pay closer attention to it. The theme for this year is controlling hypertension together. This means not only health officials, not only hospitals and wellness centers, but everybody, organizations, and we note a number of private sector organizations joining the effort to create that awareness. The National Insurance Corporation, not too long ago, with their Sneaker Day, is a very good example. And the figures that are coming out of the National Insurance Corporation, not only in terms of hypertension, but other non-communicable diseases that affect sick leave, for example. When you look at the figures, it clearly is a matter of public concern that many of our people who have to go to work are unable to work, are unable to develop their full potential because of non-communicable diseases. And this time we are speaking of conditions like high blood pressure and hypertension. So I wish to indicate to you that our ministry continues to work through various programs, through the Caribbean Wellness Program, St. Lucia Wellness Program, St. Lucia Moves, and a number of programs to create that awareness. Hopefully, every single family over a period of time will have a blood pressure monitoring machine. I indicated this on social media over the weekend, and many people thought the ministry was thinking of giving every family a blood pressure monitoring machine. No, the intention is to encourage every family to ensure that you purchase a blood pressure monitoring machine, to encourage your relatives overseas to gift you a blood pressure monitoring machine. So the barrels that are coming down for Christmas and before Christmas should have blood pressure monitoring machines, the recommended ones, and the information can be found from the Bureau of Standards and from the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Nutrition. We are very, very concerned about the fact that so many St. Lucians are living with uncontrolled hypertension or uncontrolled high blood pressure. And we want to encourage everybody, young St. Lucians and older St. Lucians, to take it very seriously, because we are seeing the impacts in our hospitals, we are seeing the impacts in our wellness centers, and we are seeing the negative impacts in our families. I thank you. Questions?
Good morning, Mr. Minister.
Good morning.
Just a couple of quick ones from me. Could you provide just an update on the status as it stands now of the situation at the Betty Wells Clinic, and also an update on the transition to St. Jude's?
Okay, well, thank you very much. The situation at the Betty Wells Polyclinic, you will recall I came here a few days ago to explain to you what the complaints were and how our team would be moving. The complaint which was lodged at the Betty Wells Polyclinic on May 8th, 2026 in relation to the bed bugs, and an assessment was done and based on the reports that yes, the bed bug was found in a plastic folding chair and one or two other areas, and the team used what is called heat treatment with steamers on May 8th, May 13th, and May 14th, 2026. A follow-up on May 15th extended to the clinic, the private offices, the eye clinic, the triage area, the urgent care area, the waiting rooms, kitchen rooms, and all areas. Secondary treatment was undertaken, precautionary treatment that is. So as long as the team determined that if one bed bug or two or few were found in one area, that they would treat the entire area. We are hoping that the monitoring, which would have been done this morning, I have not received a report this morning, but the monitoring continues, and we are hoping that no live bed bugs will be detected. Some monitoring was done throughout May 15th to 17th, which is up to yesterday, and at that time, no live bed bugs were found. So I wish to thank the team. Many of them worked throughout the weekend, Mr. Ernie Pierre and the team and the administration of the ministry for moving to deal with that matter. There are one or two other areas where staff members called in after that incident was reported to indicate that they may have witnessed one bed bug or another. And as a result of that, our team has decided that we will, in a systematic way, move all around the facilities to ensure that this is not a problem which will continue to persist. Again, as Minister for Health, Wellness and Nutrition, I wish to indicate to the general public that all of us need to ensure that we treat our places of gathering, our homes, our workplaces, to ensure that we take care of all vermin, that the hospitals and the wellness centers are public places where people leave their homes or the communities where they gather to seek services at the wellness centers and the hospitals. And we continue to urge the public to assist us, to assist the medical professionals and to assist the nurses and the health aides and those people who do sanitation at the various centers to ensure that unless it's an emergency, we cater for emergencies obviously, but unless it's an emergency, that when we access those centers, that we too ensure that we are accessing those centers in a condition that will not compromise the quality of surroundings at those centers. But we are continuing to monitor the situation and we treat those matters very seriously. And we are hoping that that issue will be something of the past.
Yeah,
Transitioning, I can tell you that we at the ministry and with the transitioning team, based on the advice, we this period, between May 15th and the week of May 18th, between 15th, the week of May 18th is a very critical time for us. That is a time when the transitioning team would be preparing for the movement of other departments. And I await at the end of this week which other department is going to move. But again, we are, as I said before here, while we are aiming for the end of June, we believe that by the end of July, all departments should have moved. So yes, the transitioning is happening, and we are working towards ensuring that, at least all things being equal, that by the end of July we have moved.
Do you have a percentage of completion at this stage?
I don't have a percentage of completion at this stage, but I can provide you with that when I meet with you next week, Monday.
Okay, and a final question from me. Regarding non-communicable diseases, you gave some statistics. You highlighted the position with high blood pressure. But there seems to be an issue that is correlated and seems to be ignored, at least from my perspective. And that has to do with the high prevalence of alcohol consumption in our society. We recognize that over the last few years, we've become an event-driven society, and alcohol consumption seems to have been on the increase. There's a prevalence of drunkenness and, like I said, alcohol consumption. Is the ministry at all concerned of the trends we're seeing of alcohol consumption? For me, it's kind of passing strange that you could find a bar open at any day or night, and you have pharmacies now curbing their time of operation, the time of opening. That's kind of an oxymoron, if you ask me. But is the ministry at all concerned about the level and the prevalence of alcohol consumption in our society?
Well, yes, of course. We have the substance abuse unit, and this unit is working very hard to ensure that there is awareness. There are drives throughout the communities, and we are aware that there is a high level of alcohol abuse throughout our communities, and based on research and based on scientific evidence, it is very clear that alcohol abuse is related to the deterioration of a number of health-related issues, if I can put it that way. NCDs, high blood pressure, heart disease, strokes, and so on, all of them can be impacted by alcohol abuse, and we are aware of it. Obviously, we have to take a whole of government approach and a whole of society approach. The approach has been and will continue to push this whole idea of ensuring that individuals are aware that personal choices have a lot to do with their health. The choices that people make in relation to what we eat and what we drink and how we live our lives, those choices, most of them, unless it's an accident or an emergency and so on, most of them have a lot to do. They are connected to the way we live our lives. So we are trying our very best to while we are focusing on trying to improve the quality of healthcare delivery, we want to ensure that we place even more focus on awareness. In fact, in the last budget, the Prime Minister increased our resources to the Health Education Department, Health Promotion Department at the ministry. And we are going to use different methods. We are going to increase our reach to ensure that individuals realize and understand the impact that our choices, all of us, our personal choices have on health. Both choices in terms of our habits and also what we do with our money, our expenditure. I remarked to a colleague not too long ago that those of us with vehicles, there's a little sticker on our vehicle which says after 2,000 miles you must take the vehicle to the garage. And most people adhere to that, to the T. You see a little bulge in your tire and even before you see the bulge, you take the vehicle to a mechanic. And those who purchase new vehicles, you must take it after every 1,000 miles or whatever. We do that. We change the upholstery, we change the oil and all of that. But many of us seem not to want to do anything close to that for our health. We think it's demanding to go see a doctor once a year. And for the men, we don't check our prostate. We don't, the women, some women, although the women are much better than us, I must say. Hopefully the men will catch up. But we are not a society or people, not just in St. Lucia, in the Caribbean and many countries of the world, we don't seem to put that same attention on our health. So what we want to do as a government, we will not be able to change everybody's personal habits, but we want you to be aware even more that you can save $5 a week or $20 a week and once a year go see a doctor, do the blood tests, do the checks and so on. And we want to create that buzz in every community, in every church. I will be very happy if over the next few years, every single organization starts their meeting with a few questions. Did you check your blood pressure? Did you walk this morning? Did you exercise? Did you drink water? Did you eat fruit? Even the churches. And there are churches. Many churches are doing that already. So we want to spread that kind of awareness and mobilization among our people, because we have a very, very serious problem. Very serious problem with NCDs. And we are seeing it in the figures, we have the evidence, and we are going to act even more forcefully to ensure that and yes, government has a role with legislation and so on, and we are looking at that also. But we do have a problem, and we are very, very concerned. And if I may say, younger and younger people, we are seeing cancers in younger and younger people. We are seeing diseases, non-communicable diseases in younger and younger people, strokes, heart disease in younger and younger people. And we cannot, as a country, not do something about that. We cannot, we must. All of us, the media is playing its part already, and the media can do even more just to keep the awareness going. But that's a serious problem.
Good morning, Mr. Minister. Kishana Smith from Choice TV. The field of medicine, particularly nursing, has grown an interest among many young people. But there is this reality that the youth base of the population demographic is declining steadily. How concerned are you about how it can impact the healthcare sector in St. Lucia?
Well, we really want to encourage more young people to go into nursing. I am proud of the students who are at the South Community College, and this government continues to assist with tuition, hoping to encourage students to go into nursing. We know now, and it's common knowledge, that nursing, you almost can't go wrong with this profession. We have a deficit of about 150 to 162 nurses in St. Lucia, and we need more nurses, especially specialist nurses, whether it be pediatrics or whether it be surgical. We have a deficit of specialist nurses and also people in general nursing. We know that many more individuals are applying to do nursing at the South Community College, and you spoke of population decline. I do not yet have I have not seen the evidence to suggest that because of that we have fewer people who want to be nurses. In fact, I am very encouraged by the number of young people who want to go into nursing. We are going to continue, the Minister for Finance, we've had those discussions, and whenever he can, I'm sure the Minister for Finance will look into the possibility of how else can we assist individuals to go into nursing and into general medicine, into the field of medicine, not only doctors and so on, pharmacists. We have a deficit of pharmacists. So part of the reason is because of the demand from the other markets, United States, England, and so on, Canada, these other more developed countries. The market is really drawing our professionals away from St. Lucia and the Caribbean. So yes, it is a challenge. Every single day, we see the challenges at the wellness centers, in the hospitals. We have an aging population and geriatric nurses. I mean, we will begin to see, as the years go by, an even greater need for care for the elderly. And so yes, that's a challenge. We have not solved it yet, but we are hoping that even more St. Lucians, younger St. Lucians, will opt to go into nursing. It's a challenge for us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Minister. Just 3 questions from me to follow-ups. There are reports of bed bugs at the Lockery Wellness Center. Can you speak to that?
Yes, well, in fact, all of the areas, all of the complaints were investigated. The report certainly informs me that on May 16th, The team, we received the report, and the team made an assessment on May 16th, and no infestation and none was detected. The team will go back to do an inspection, and while I'm at the podium, I must also debunk this rumor that our team is using certain chemicals to spray the areas. This is not so. We are using heat treatment. So the team did go to that wellness center to check, and we don't have evidence that there's any, but the team will go back to check. Okay.
On the topic of alcohol consumption, we're having more reports of underage individuals consuming alcohol, especially at public events like jazz, carnival, teen fetes. Can you respond to this?
Well, certainly, yes, that's a problem, and we are hoping that our messaging will continue to evolve, because we admit that our messaging needs to evolve so that it attracts, so to speak, the younger and younger population, so that we can get that message to them. But it is two things: law enforcement, not law enforcement, but enforcement, and also individual responsibility. Children, I say children, should not be drinking alcohol, and whether it be at public events or in the home, and we will step up. We will step up the vigilance, because it is impacting not just the families. This is very important, the health of the family, health of individuals. But as a government, we have to look at everything, and it's impacting the economy of the country, because those problems impact how governments allocate resources, and the amount of resources we need to allocate to health care. Every single year we have to increase the resources, and if non-communicable diseases continue to pose the challenge that they are posing now, it's going to impact certainly the economy of the country, productivity at the level of the workforce, and certainly we should be discouraging young people. We should be doing all that we can at all levels to discourage young people from drinking, as we see in some areas, especially at public events. So we'll continue our substance abuse secretariat. We are going to continue to improve our messaging, to popularize it even more. And research has shown that in certain more developed countries, over time, what has happened with smoking, with the campaigns, we've seen drastic reductions in smoking. And there are certain countries we actually see a reduction in alcohol consumption over the entire population. So we know that there are strategies that hopefully can work for us in St. Lucia and in the Caribbean.
Final question from me. We're seeing that HIV is becoming more prevalent here, especially among children from age 16. Recently, this guy, he came for an interview with DBS, and he was saying about he was on a program where he was getting assistance for his medication and all of that, because he's suffering from the disease, and that he was removed of the program. Can you maybe touch on government assistance towards helping people suffering from HIV?
I know that our government, for a long time, the Ministry of Health has had a series of programs, not only awareness programs, but programs that deal with treatment for HIV, mother-to-child transmission, and so on. There's been a series of programs dealing with HIV. If there is a particular situation with a specific individual, I'm certain the ministry would have investigated it and an update provided, but I do not yet have this update. So I can promise you, when I come to the podium next week, I will do the research and to give you the answer. But I do not want to speak out of turn on this one and to be properly informed. But we are very committed, we continue to be committed to ensuring that we continue to raise the awareness and to have programs for treatment for individuals who are impacted by HIV. Okay? That's it?
Good afternoon. Just one last one from me.
Yes.
You'd have touched on it earlier. Um, you would see among the older generation in particular, um, a reluctance to seek healthcare from established health providers. So you find a lot of them saying that they'd rather go to their community doctor, they rather the bush medicine and so on. So you see that there is a reluctance to go to a physical space like a wellness center. Do you think, or would there be at least sufficient marketing and awareness targeted towards these people in particular, because they are the ones who are more at risk?
Okay, thank you very much. The evidence that we have over the last few years, we have the figures. I don't remember the exact figures now, so I'll not quote them. But just to be very general, the evidence suggests actually that more St. Lucians are actually visiting the wellness centers over the last few years in particular. And it is because of the number of programs and some new programs and additional programs, the PBF and other programs where certain types of medication were introduced at no cost, and treatments. And now with the universal health coverage programs, all of the new services, most or all of these services must be accessed through the primary care setting, which is the wellness centers and the polyclinics. And as a result of that, we have seen an increase, a dramatic increase in the number of St. Lucians who are using the wellness centers and our polyclinics, which is the primary setting. I do understand that there are a number of individuals who feel that they need more privacy and therefore they go to their private physicians and so on. And some of the services which we provide, those services are happening in the private sector. So when they go to the primary sector, like they go to the wellness centers for preliminary investigations, some of the tests happen in the private sector and some of the tests happen at the hospitals. So we are trying to work with the private sector also, meaning private doctors and labs and so on, to ensure that we spread access to care. We want to encourage St. Lucians to interact with the wellness centers because that is where you can do your regular checks, and most of the tests and the checks there are at no cost to you. So your blood pressure monitoring, your basic diabetes check and so on, whether you see the doctor regularly, whether it's once a month and so on, we encourage in St. Lucians to go to the wellness centers. Over last year, for example, we increased the number of doctors who would service the wellness centers. We do not have all that we need, but we are hoping that over time we are going to increase the number of services that are available at the wellness centers. The aim is to prevent, or hopefully to slow down the rate at which St. Lucians are arriving at our hospitals in a critical state because of NCDs, for example. People are arriving because of stroke and because of certain conditions. If we caught them at the wellness centers, maybe they would stand a better chance at management. So yes, I know there are individuals who prefer to go to their private physicians, and that's fine. That's fine. I mean, all we want is for individuals to interact more with your doctors and with your wellness centers and with your nurses. Don't be a stranger to the health system. Do not wait until we have to get to hospital. And many individuals still believe that healthcare is at the hospital, Which when you go to the hospital, you are in healthcare, in the healthcare system. It should really start with you checking, whether you are a lady, you checking your breast, whether you are a man, ensuring that your prostate and your blood pressure and so on, early o'clock from when you are young. You don't have to reach 40 and 50 years. You need to go to your wellness center when you are 15 years or from school. Just do the checks. You never know. and we are going to save a lot of money and a lot of pain down the road. So for us, it is, whether you are in the private sector or in the public sector, whether you're going to your private doctor or to the doctors in the wellness centers, my message to you is to interact with the health sector. Visit your doctors regularly, your dentists. Another one people ignore, your oral care. That's linked to so many serious diseases. If you don't take care of if you don't have proper oral hygiene and oral care, it can lead to so many complications. So my message is just for you to interact with the healthcare system more regularly, whether it be private or public. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So next week I have some updates based on what you asked today. Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
I remember when the Honorable Prime Minister said we need to eat bananas. He was ridiculed. So because sometimes when you hear the machinations, you wonder where people believe they are getting with this. But one of the best programs, one of the programs that is bloviated most about is the 1 banana per child program. Parents are happy. When you give a child a banana, potassium, magnesium, vitamin C, all these other micronutrients. Shanda Haraxin is trying to teach me a lot more about nutrition. So, that is what you're giving that child in their hand on a daily basis, Mr. Speaker. And so we've started, Mr. Speaker, with 2,966 across 13 schools, and we are going to be expanding to every school during this financial year, Mr. Speaker.
This year, through the 1 banana per child program, the government will work with banana farming organizations to ensure that farmers get a guaranteed market for their produce and children get the nutritional value from the product.
We are finalizing the National Strategic Plan for Health 2025 to 2030, which we started work on in 2025 with the assistance of the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization. So, Mr. Speaker, we are finalizing a plan. The plan is complete, but we now have to include nutrition.
In 2026-27, we'll place greater emphasis on nutrition and healthy living. We will convene a national nutrition conference, initiatives to ensure balanced diet and portion control, expand workplace wellness and physical activity programs. Mr. Speaker, the fight against non-communicable diseases must begin not in the hospital, but in our homes, in our schools, and in our communities.
Mr. Speaker, the cost of healthcare to the economy, most estimates put it at 1 to 8% of your GDP. And if you look at the OECS and St. Lucia in particular, it's costing St. Lucia, the St. Lucian economy, between $250 to $300 million just for NCDs, non-communicable diseases, diabetes, hypertension, and some of the cancers and so on. Just imagine that, Mr. Speaker. If you take $300 million annually every year, $250 to $300 million, it's a cost. So focusing on healthcare and the work in healthcare is important because it costs us money.
No modern health system is complete without a robust response to mental health. This year, we will develop a national mental health policy, introduce enabling legislation aligned with international standards, and expand community-based mental health services. This represents a critical step in addressing stigma, improving access, and ensuring that mental health is treated with the same urgency and dignity as physical health.
I've spoken about the Director of Mental Health Services, and this director has started work into reviewing the national mental health policy. Steps are being taken to have psychiatric nurse practitioners do even more work in terms of access to being able to do prescriptions and so on at the primary level.
This year, government will pass the Electricity Supply Act to formalize the sustainable commercial and domestic use of alternative and renewable energy sources. We will implement strategic energy investments such as the Caribbean Efficient and Green Energy Buildings Project, which is a regional initiative designed to modernize the public sector's energy use. The project's primary goal is to save energy, increase renewable energy capacity in public facilities, and strengthen the national regulatory framework for investments. The project comprises the public sector retrofitting of 150 public buildings with energy efficient systems and rooftop solar panels.
First, what is life? Glow c'est la vie. What is life? Yet for too long, this truth was betrayed by a system in decay. The Northern Pipeline was over 40 years old, corroded and bleeding. Nearly half of all water produced was lost before reaching a single home. That was not policy, that was failure.
Government has taken the decisive position that the entire administration of WASCO will come under review. In this regard, Cabinet has formed a committee to work in conjunction with the International Financial Corporation of the World Bank, the IFC, to prepare an appropriate public-private partnership, PPP framework for WASCO. In the meantime, WASCO will work on the following projects: the Patience Water Supply Redevelopment Project, upgrade of the pipeline from Bonte to Grosili, Tibbles Water Supply Rehabilitation Project, John Compton Dam Raw Water Pipeline Replacement Project.
Mr. Speaker, we are not merely repairing pipes. We are executing a data-driven transformation. We are rehabilitating the northern transmission lines. We are upgrading the Tibbles treatment plant. And we are aggressively advancing both the John Compton Dam pipeline and the Patience Water Supply Project.
Honorable Kenson Kazime, Minister for Education, Youth Development, Sports, and Digital Transformation, will now brief us.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. There is so much going on that I had to make sure I brought my proper notes with some of the announcements of what's happened, especially over the last week. You would have realized that we officially launched on Friday the National Youth Policy and Action Plan, Friday, May 15th, Derek Walcott Square. Society, young people, everybody got an opportunity to pass through the city center and get an idea of the pillars that we are going to follow as we seek to engage young people meaningfully in the overall development of St. Lucia. The event was very well received. We had schools coming in throughout the day. The event started after 10 o'clock in the morning, and we had a number of individuals from corporate society, from social society coming in to understand the national youth policy and how it's going to shape the future of St. Lucia. That event was also entertaining. We had some young people come through, the likes of Ezra, the likes of Ludi really came in, and of course it was a national event that was very well put together. The Prime Minister came through and other cabinet colleagues and lent their voice to the establishment of that National Youth Policy and Action Plan. In addition to that, we had the official launch of Black Hat Football in the Ministry of Sports. Black Hat Football on Saturday, May 16th. Philip Masley Grounds was the venue used for the opening of Black Hat. This is a venue that we continue to try our best to give attention. We have some work to do on the surface and also the roof with the main pavilion, but we saw some exciting football. The Black Hat competition this year has been held at the under 20 level. The organizer, David Shakes Christopher, along with the SLFE, made that decision once they explained that this was the direction they were going. The Ministry of Youth Development and Sports lent its support, and we saw some very good games on the weekend. One game featured the constituency of Grosley and Labrie, Rosa and Masha, and so we'll see some football continue on Wednesday in Viewfort and then move to Soufrière and then up north. We also had semi-pro cricket on the weekend. A de facto semi-final was held at the Grosley playing field on Sunday, and we saw the final being decided. So we'll have Choiseul Craft Masters coming up against City Blasters. So Central Castries, they will play Choiseul. And with this competition, we've seen an increased interest. As you can see, most of the batting tallies exceeded 200 runs, as we are seeing in the IPL. And so it means that a lot of adjustments has been made to batsmen understanding how to score runs quickly. I think so far my biggest takeaway from SPL 2026 is the number of young people who actually follow the SPL, come to the games, and say to me, Minister, I'm so ready to become a semi-professional cricketer. It means that it started earlier. They've already started shaping their minds that this is a direction that is feasible for them. And so we see the development programs, we see the grassroots programs, we see the high performance center, and the inclusion of foreign cricketers, each team allowed to bring in 2 foreign cricketers from the region, has really sparked even further interest. We had Alec Athanas yesterday scoring 100, and of course an international player in the dressing room for Choiseul Craft Masters. Obviously you're seeing a professional at work. I think that can only redound to the benefit of these young individuals seeing what it takes to become professional. That's what we want with the semi-professional cricket league. We also had CPEA exams last week on May 13th and 14th across the island. I was able to visit a number of the centers that were hosting the students. We saw a number of students seem calmer than, even the teachers and parents. As a parent, I can tell you the night before I barely slept, only to see the twins enter with a level of confidence as the other classmates were very relaxed. And so that's what we want to see from our students. So we await the results of CPA and CXC, CSEC exams also ongoing. I was able to visit some of the institutions, as the Sahara Simmons Secondary, Castries Comprehensive Secondary, SDA Academy, also a school that I will be giving attention to along with the MP for Castries North. And for all intents and purposes, things were happening smoothly. Every single examination is being guided by the CXC. It's a regional examination, and of course you have some issues that normally come up with exams, but they were taken care of for all intents and purposes, and so everything went smoothly. I'm not sure if I announced previously that this is Reading Month, and so we are certainly making the clarion call for more of society, those influencers, to get involved in Reading Month. Visit the schools. Sometimes it's just 5-10 minutes to read a story, share your experience with reading and how it's helped you develop. And we had that launch at the Dame Paulette Louise Primary School on May 6th. Very well put together. I think we've also sent the clarion call for Reading Month not to just be considered for the children. Our adults need to read. I seriously believe there is a problem with reading comprehension, understanding, and not just waiting for individuals in the social sphere, influencers, to tell you what to think, but to think for yourself. Read the entire release, the entire statement of a video before, prejudging. So I made the call for adults to really use this month to read. read something, whether you're a teacher, a principal, read something that can help you with reskilling and adjusting to this new generation. And so I want to take this opportunity to encourage everybody, parents, teachers, and children to get more involved in reading. We also will be having the press launch for semi-pro football. That is scheduled to happen on the 27th of May. We are into our third version of the tournament. We are planning to ensure that we have some more programs for the footballers in financial management, in conflict resolution, in ensuring that you can keep your temperament. So this is something that I'm looking forward to. I'm also looking forward to the official opening of the Cuthbert Modest Strength Training Center at the Mendo Phillip Park. Anybody who knows Twatini knows that he was always and is always big on strength training. You would see some videos of him along with Julian Alfred in that gym, albeit at that time very, very ill-equipped for athletes. But we've done a lot of work in ensuring that we have new, fresh equipment, brand new mirrors, and of course all the treadmills and the different things we need to strengthen our athletes. So very soon we will be opening that center in honor of Cuthbert Modest, who's continued to provide his service to young people in sport and overall development. I think that's all I have for you right now. Any questions?
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Minister.
Good morning.
A couple of questions from me. You spoke on the CPA, which concluded last week, 13th and the 14th of May. Mm-hmm. The discussion continues as to the relevance of the CPA, the pressures being placed on students just for this one exam as opposed to continuous assessment moving forward. What is the ministry's current position on the CPA? Is it under review? Are we revisiting the format? What is the position as it stands right now?
Well, it's a regional exam, so we will be always having discussions. We will have briefings after having an examination of that nature. We saw the move from having CPA, or what we called common entrance, one day as the determinant of an individual's position or placement at a secondary school. Of course, there was thorough discussion on whether one day should justify what secondary school a child attends, and that was definitely adjusted to ensure that you have the component which is 40% similar to SBA completion towards your grade, which one may describe as some level of continuous assessment, and of course the other 60% being on the day, the multiple choice questions in the different academic fields. I can tell you that I am not one who gravitates towards just examination. I believe we need to, from that age, be dealing with children as developing professionals, and education should always be in life forming in terms of transitioning children through the phases in terms of their adopting life skills that can be sustained through their employment, that could be sustained in terms of they being individuals in our society that is progressive and providing that level of economic activity for the wider nation. So we'll definitely continue to review what it is right now. We'll obviously see how we can ensure we have that evolution in education that really deals with the child becoming more productive citizens, and not necessarily just strictly examinations to determine somebody's ability to function in the work world. That's my position.
On the subject of CXC, I did pick up on social media, there was some comments, some concerns by a couple of students regarding the math paper 2, stating that the questions did not reflect what was on the syllabus, to the point that some are even alleging that the questions may have been AI generated. Have you received any such reports? And
you see, the beauty of these examinations being standardized across the region is that you can make calls at the different countries, to the different countries, and find out what their thoughts are. I can tell you that just generally, preliminarily, there is that feeling that there was just something unique. Let's just put it that way. Something very unique about that paper too. I've also spoken to students that seem to believe that they were somehow a little aggrieved. I can tell you the examination council, they have done well over the years in making adjustments and listening to the reports coming out from the teachers, the principals, the invigilators, and of course the ministry in making final decisions as to whether certain questions should have been scrapped. Certain questions were unfair, and therefore making adjustments to the overall grade or the percentage, the mark that the child obtains. So that will be under review. That discussion, I was at Black Hat Football in Viewfort, that discussion came up. I was at semi-professional cricket in Rosalie, it came up. And so I would envisage and imagine that enough parents would make some level of an appeal to the examination council, the regional examination council, and the ministry for us to have some level of a review. It's been done in the past. I don't think this year will be any exception.
And final question for me on the sports academy. I've been made to understand, and you could clarify, that the sports academy will eventually transition into a high performance center, and the proposal is that it will be renamed. What is the position on that?
That's a manifesto statement, and of course a statement of intent. The manifesto is really a statement of intent that I believe everybody should read and be guided by. The Prime Minister and of course his team putting this together indicated that we needed a more robust approach to dealing with the high performance individuals in our society in terms of sport, and I have been steadfast in my belief that that facility can provide that level of accommodation to our national athletes in terms of injury management, in terms of mental training, in terms of still having the facilities for these high performing athletes to provide good training, good level of strength training and overall technique development. And we believe that sports medicine on all levels will be part of that Laverne Spencer Center for Excellence. So I believe at the end of the day, we are doing this responsibly. We've put together a team a transitioning team that will take the time and look at all what we can do preliminarily, what we can institute as time goes by in a phased approach to providing that level of quality injury management, injury recovery, that quality level of professional attention to our athletes that will be representing us. And so I think we'll look back at that moment when we finally open that center and realize that we did justice to St. Lucian athletes by giving them that level of attention.
Good morning, Mr. Minister.
Good morning. How are you?
No doubt that you would have heard about the incident at one of the schools across the island. Mm-hmm. I'll refrain from going into the specifics. As Minister, how concerned are you about the safety and protection of teachers, particularly in emotionally charged situations?
First and foremost, I will tell you, I'm also a parent. My concern as a minister is for the biggest stakeholder in our education system, first and foremost, the safety, security of the child, the student, the pupil, whichever way you want to describe them. I stand firm in my belief that a school has to be a safe space for our children. I don't even think I'm speaking as a minister right now, I'm speaking as a parent. You want to know that when you turn your back, when you've dropped that child, that child's level of health, physically, mentally, is given all consideration by all and sundry, and those that are given the responsibility to ensure that that child is being taken care of properly. Mm-hmm. And then the next stakeholder, the teachers. I personally hold teachers to the highest level or highest standard of accountability. You are an adult. I personally would want for you to realize that you are an adult and you have a certain level of responsibility in terms of being mentally ready to deal with children and in discipline, and that you make sure that you're responsible in every split second of the day. And that's my position. I just believe that it's about the child being safe, and as a teacher ensuring that that child is safe. For me, I am someone who also believes in due process. You will never find me just coming here and saying A, B, C, D should happen. I believe that there is a guidance by the legal documents of the ministry for dealing with conflict in schools and dealing with that sort of those issues. And I believe that personally we need to ensure that this is instituted, it has been commenced, it has been ongoing, and I await the Public Service Commission decision at the end as to how we deal with that issue. Of course, I will always be concerned about young children, young people, and how they are treated. And for me, I will not interfere with the process, but you can imagine how closely I will be monitoring what happens here.
Thank you. Interestingly enough, though, subsequent to the release of the news report, one would have argued that there is not enough emphasis being placed on teachers and, you know, the whole idea of their mental health. Do you suppose that there is truth to this statement? And if you're not satisfied, what does the ministry intend to do to, you know, safeguard the mental health of teachers?
Very good question, I must say, because at the end of the day, we are still dealing with human beings. As hasty as I am to gravitate towards the notion that we need to ensure that we protect our children, I believe even as human beings, that is why I'm always calling for due process. As human beings, no matter what age you are, you do err. You do have times and moments, every single one of us, and I don't think we should be hypocritical. Every single one of us would make a mistake and just be like, how? Every one of us here, how did I do that? What happened that caused me to do that? And so that's going to be part of what happens as well. I think at the end of the day, we are still dealing with a human being. We are still dealing with imperfect human beings. And that has to be part of the evaluation of what happened here and how moving forward we can provide that level of training and intervention to ensure that it doesn't happen again. In addition to that, we've had thorough discussion on counselors. The ministry and the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, we endorse 10 new counselors for our school system, primarily our students. But the funny thing is, even the counselors that are currently in existence in the meeting said we need to identify one counselor, preferably a regionally respected counselor for teachers and for them as counselors. I've always said your mental health is your responsibility. I'm one who spends some time doing yoga, meditation, and we all here need that cathartic intervention in terms of what we do on a daily basis. And that is what I as minister want to ensure is done for all stakeholders in our education system. Can you imagine the amount of counseling our principals need, the teachers need, I would say the janitors, the cleaners, because everybody is susceptible to making those sort of errors. And so I don't want to make it seem as if there's that insensitivity to that.
Okay, nice. Teachers have complained that classroom environments can sometimes become difficult to manage. Does the ministry believe that teachers are being equipped with the necessary training and skill set to deal with these behavioral patterns?
I'm not satisfied. I'm not satisfied. I believe that the ministry definitely provides a certain level of intervention and resources to teachers to manage their classrooms. But I do believe that more can be done for the teachers. I think the teachers, 90% of them, 99% of them, they are well-intentioned. As a former teacher myself at a primary and infant school, I believe that we often don't feel like we are appreciated enough, and more can be done. But I continue to encourage teachers to reskill. What would have worked 20 years ago, if that is the level of competence you're bringing right now, it is not enough. You need to reskill. You need to, from time to time, hone in on the skills that you have and modernize those skills. So we have been looking at different areas, different programs that we can implement for that. The ministry has been doing that over the years. I want to make sure that people understand that the ministry, we have had programs for our teachers, and we are only hoping that we could do more in the future to ensure that more and more classroom management is something that is always in the forefront of what they do.
Okay, nice. There are a number of teachers who are simultaneously pursuing tertiary education while actively teaching. Is the ministry considering stipends, tuition, or other incentives to support educators who wish to pursue their studies?
I think at the end of the day, we as human beings, not just teachers, we should never really be satisfied with our level of intellect, with the skills we've garnered over the years, the experience we have. And so we should always be looking for programs. I say that to the people at the youth ministry, our youth workers that insist they want to be promoted and that sort of thing. So I always say to them, but you have the same level of qualification you came in with 5 years ago. What have you done that gives you that edge to be promoted? And so with teachers, it's no different. But teachers do feel like the ministry and the minister and the upper branch at education can do more. But we do encourage them to apply for as much as they can in terms of whatever programs that are online, whatever programs that are available by Sir Arthur Lewis. But it would be very, very irresponsible for me to say as minister that we can fund it right now. We do have, the ministry is huge in terms of the financial needs that the educators and all and sundry in education needs right now. But it would be irresponsible for me to say right now that we can fund all or most of the programs that they may need for them to further themselves. But we certainly hope that they are looking around. We do have a HRD department, and once we can provide that level of, training for some and the finances permit, then we will. But there are a lot of programs out there that are online that they can do.
For free?
Some of them are for free.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir. How are you?
Not too bad. Are you satisfied that...
You ever have been satisfied, boss? The Prime Minister is wondering. I grossly do it so much all the time, but most of my focus is on what I have not done. So I can already tell you, no, I'm not satisfied. But go ahead. Sorry. I apologize.
On the matter of security, school security.
Oh, my God.
We have, over the last few years in particular, heard of incidents of individuals invading school premises or making their way onto school premises and creating, for want of a better word, havoc. Are you satisfied?
I can tell you, to answer your question, that I'm very proud to be a part of a government that every year you've seen an increased allocation for dealing with school security. I don't think that any government can have a one-off sort of financial contribution right now in just dealing with all of our security concerns. But to answer your question, no, I am not satisfied with that level. We've had, I think, in terms of meetings, that will be one of the meetings in the last 6 months as minister that I've had a lot of in terms of how it is that we can provide that level of security given the financial constraints that we have. I can tell you it's not a one-size-fits-all, simply because, again, we have fiscal challenges. But those schools that we realize in more need of certain interventions in terms of CCTV, in terms of armed guard, we have been over the years given that level of attention and will continue to incrementally increase that level of security at schools until we get to a point where we know that all schools are secure enough away from individuals that may be malicious and nefarious in our society.
Still on security, more internationally though, there are cries and calls for our students outside, bearing in mind what is happening in the world at the moment, and security issues with traveling and stuff like that. Maybe you could speak to that and more specifically with regards to Cuba.
I think as a Minister of Education, we've been very thorough in dealing with our students that are currently at Cuba. We've had plans that have been drawn up for those students that are spread across the island in terms of where would be the assembling point if in fact we do need to move them, or what would be the mode of transportation we would use if we need to move them, and how do we provide that level of accommodation for them when if they need to be moved to another school or enrolled elsewhere to complete their program. We've had some very good meetings with External Affairs and of course the Ambassador Isaac, who is currently in Cuba, and of course with the Students Association in Cuba, to ensure that we continue to monitor how things are flowing. We live in a very volatile time right now. I remember waking up one morning in February, and I mean, Israel was and the US were bombing and getting rid of a leader in Iran. So I mean, it just tells you that you always need to be overly prepared. And that is what we have done at the ministry. We've had some really high-level meetings with UWE, with other institutions, and of course with the students and at the institutes in Cuba to ensure that come what may, we have some level of support for our children if they need to move. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You're satisfied?
Never.
As you may recall, during the Prime Minister's 2026-2027 budget policy address, he announced the establishment of a coroner's court to enhance the overall justice system. Now, today, I am pleased to announce that for the first time in St. Lucia, the Judicial and Legal Services Commission has appointed a coroner. Ms. Desma Charles is St. Lucia's first appointee to the newly created post. This appointment follows the establishment of a separate coroner's court within the jurisdiction of the magistrates' courts. The coroner's court was established in response to the growing need for a comprehensive judicial mechanism to examine deaths occurring in unnatural but non-criminal circumstances, including deaths in custody, fatal accidents, suspected suicides, and other matters affecting public safety. The coroner's court will assist families, the public, and other agencies in obtaining answers concerning unnatural deaths, while also helping the state authorities identify and resolve systemic risks and public safety concerns. Previously, the duties of the coroner under the Coroner's Act were shared between magistrates, as there was no dedicated coroner's office. The appointment of a coroner was made possible after the Prime Minister and his cabinet approved in January 2025 the establishment of a coroner's court and the creation of the post of a coroner. Additional appointments will be made to support the court's operations, including administrative personnel and a specially appointed investigator tasked with conducting inquiries into unnatural deaths. The establishment of this court represents a major The establishment of this court represents a major advancement in St. Lucia's justice system and positions the country as a regional leader in judicial modernization and institutional accountability. The establishment of this court reflects the government of St. Lucia's commitment to strengthening and modernizing St. Lucia's judicial system. And for further details regarding the commencement of sittings and the court's procedures, you can contact the Ministry of Justice, and we will also announce those details in due course. And this announcement concludes our press briefing for today. The Office of the Prime Minister thanks you for your time and usual patience. Do have a good day.